Welcome to episode 1420 of the Multifamily Collective. Today I wanted to talk about a piece that Don Beveridge wrote. He had attended a session at RetCon, I believe. Yeah, RetCon 2023 conference. It's just wrapping up. This is Tuesday, Tuesday in April the 4th, Tuesday. Uh, it's interesting. He was talking about how in BI, you get all these disparate sources of information. You put it into BI, into I think it's referred to as a data lake sometimes. But you get this information in there, and then you pipe the data out into various dashboards germane to the perspective of the person viewing the dashboards. In other words, you can have this underlying data set that can be represented and or presented in the way that I might want to look at it, the way that somebody Gail might want to look at it. Katie might want asset management might want to look. So you can slice and dice it any way you want. You can take the underlying data, you can structure it into a presentation that is germane to the way you want to see it, and then you can make interpretations and extrapolations. And this leads to the point of this short post. I get concerned when BI. BI is not new, right? uh, I think this is probably, it's been a decade since this has been introduced into the multifamily ecosystem in any real way. And now it's finally getting to a point. I still think we're several innings away because you have these legacy property management systems that just they won't work together. And in my head, they never will. Somebody's going to just come along and blow that all up sooner rather than later would be a preference. But anyway, because it is important that we get these things talking, because you can't make real um, informed decisions based on information sources that just don't that won't work together. Um, but anyway, long story short, when that moment comes, because it will, I fear as an operator, you're going to get this sort of. Well, let me read you this quote from Donald Davidoff, a dear friend of mine. I consider him a dear friend of mine. He made a remark: analysis at the speed of curiosity. Now let's extrapolate that for a second. Analysis at the speed of curiosity. You know what that leads to? Direction at the speed of I want it done yesterday. And what I mean by that is you you get down to such a granular level of information, and you start to make informed decisions based on these very detail oriented pieces of data. And all of a sudden, you could have site team members. You could take every practice and system off the site, whether through uh, automation or centralization or elimination of stuff or outsourcing of stuff. You can do all that stuff off. But what's going to happen, what's going to replace all of that in terms of a time suck for people on site is asset management teams, data driven teams that are now going to know what the water costs in Tulsa, Oklahoma on a Friday afternoon at 4:30 when a swell of people come home, and they're going to make informed decisions based on that piece of data, and all of a sudden we're running down paths that at the end of the day may not return, uh, in terms of a return on the investment or return on effort, is not going to yield an incremental difference or enough of an incremental difference to move the needle. And so I just fear that you're going to end up, it's great to have all this data. It's great to make informed decisions. At some point, you have to sit down as an organization, you have to come together and you have to define those things that really truly are the drivers of your business. Let's say 8 to 12 things plus minus, and everything else sub to that needs to be really reconciled before you do any kind of informed decision making process based on that. It needs to be a phenomenal. There needs to be a real return on investment analysis or based analysis, whatever analysis you need to do before you actually take action on stuff. Because my fear is you always take it at your fingertips, and all of a sudden you're going to run people off on wild goose chases that really yield nothing at the end of the day when you're trying to move the needle in a drastic way. So my encouragement to everybody is once BI is really unleashed in the way that I think it would uh, be careful about be careful about what directives you give as it relates to that information. Be intentional about sitting down and and making trade-offs. Make some real trade-offs. What are the things you really are going to pay attention to? You really use to drive the business. What you're going to trade off. In other words, you're going to know what it is, but you're not going to make strategic decisions based on those pieces of information. Even though you know what they are, you may want to know what they are. Otherwise, you're just going to get people running around and not paying attention to the customer, not paying attention to the team members, not paying attention to the business partners, and it could get really messy really fast. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.